People are saying JK has left the military or that they want him to. We also have a clip that a lot of people are talking about, might not be PG-13 if you know what I mean. We then have some fairly rude pics that have been trending. So dumplings and Dave Disci, let's get into it. This one is a really interesting story, and I definitely wanted to talk about it. These specific photos can't get posted unless they're blurred, as they are a little bit graphic, but that doesn't mean we can't talk about them. It's alleged that an actor posted a photo with something reflective, and you could see him almost completely naked. So in the actual photo, if you were to look at it unblurred, you can't actually see his private parts, but you kind of know it's there. And so it's definitely a picture that should not exist on the internet. The photo was essentially him just taking a picture of this bear award that he got, and near the head of the bear showed his reflection, and for some reason this actor was completely naked. Now he wasn't doing anything inappropriate, if you know what I mean. Like, the point of the picture wasn't so that you could see him naked. It was clear he just wanted to take a picture of this bear, and it turned into something a lot more than just him taking a picture of a bear. And there's a few things that I want to say here. One of them being is that I'm not even 100% sure if it is this actor, because a reflection off of a glass face, that's a little bit distorted. Is that really going to show you 100% who this person is? It's also really small, so you can't really see their face. So I can't say for certain, is this that actor? But the internet and news sites seem to believe that it is. Now, apparently this actor posted this photo of the bear and of his body completely bare, and almost deleted it immediately. Some people believe that it was deleted within seconds, but I have no idea whether that's true or not, obviously. My question is, how did he realize this was happening? If it was actually deleted within seconds, how did he immediately know that something was very wrong? Because he would have to have been looking at his DMs, or he would have to get a message from his label, or maybe he zoomed in himself and saw it and was like, oh no, I have to delete this. Because I don't think if it was already posted, a staff member would be able to find out that quickly before the audience had grabbed a screenshot and done what they'd done. But there are times in which I will hit post, and then I will go back and look at the photo and kind of analyze things after I've posted them, which is definitely not the best thing you should do. You should definitely do that before you post. Now, an actor's life is a little bit different from a K-pop star's life, and I think when they're not acting or they're in a show, they might have a little bit more freedom to do whatever they want. And I don't think labels or the companies that they're under really control them. And because they're an actor, they don't really have a set image, because that image changes depending on the role that they take. So there probably isn't really a person that sits there and monitors the social media content and reviews it before the actors can post it. It is likely that they'll just let you do whatever you want to do. So this is an interesting story, and I hope a lot of people can learn something from this, which is to double check your photos before you post them. Also, I hope BTS can learn something from this too, to make sure that they don't post anything like this, because if this is true, this is a disaster. There's been a lot of talks about people wanting JK to leave the military or come back. There's been a lot of people who have been saying how sad they are that they want JK to get plastic surgery and then sneak out of the camp just so that they can hear his voice again and blah, blah, blah. There's nothing really negative about this. I just thought it was very interesting to talk about where the community is at this point. I think they still have a few ways to go before they can all get out of the military, but we are definitely nearing the end here. And I believe we're at the halfway point here, so I think we'll be good very soon. There was a clip of a K-pop star singing one of JK's songs, and people were definitely saying that this would be good enough for now. People were saying that it sounded similar enough to JK that this could have been him, and that this artist should then just release an album or whatever. No hate to the singer at all. I personally did not hear any parts that sounded like JK. To me, and when I say no hate towards him, I'm not saying it because I feel like he would find it offensive if I said that he didn't sound like JK, but I say no hate because I don't want the community to take it as if I'm insulting the singer. Because a lot of people in the community will be upset when an artist is compared to BTS, but then that artist doesn't accept that comparison. There's nothing wrong with having a comparison to your favorite artist and then them not wanting that comparison to exist. Because we as people who are not the artist, and we're people who maybe don't, make music for a living or don't have a personal brand, it's hard for us to see what exactly is the problem with being compared to a really successful artist or a really successful brand. But there is a whole team involved, like a whole PR team, a whole consulting team, a whole effort that is made to differentiate one artist from another. When you put them together, it makes very little sense, but also is an insult to all of those people who have worked really hard to differentiate one artist from another. There are 100% labels and specific artists that were created for the sole intention of being like another successful established singer, but for most artists that we see in the public eye that are actually going much further and are actually really famous are ones that are of their own brand and likely wouldn't want to be compared to another artist. Nicki Minaj actually used to be called the second Lady Gaga. And we look at that right now, we're kind of like, we see how ridiculous that is because she is so established and she is in her own lane at this point. And Gaga is in her own lane as well. It doesn't really make sense, but that was the narrative that people were saying at that time. And it's something bad that you get when you compare a less established artist to one that is more. So there's nothing bad with comparing, but there is nothing bad with comparing a less established artist to maybe a more established artist, but it isn't always something that the artist is going to want. And if they do not want that, don't be upset with them and understand that they're just trying to be themselves and they're trying really hard to do that. There are clips floating around on social media right now that are a bit interesting. I think these clips are interesting because they kind of are attention grabbing in a sexual nature. I'm going to specifically reference one clip, but it wasn't just one clip. It wasn't just one account or one tweet. It was various people across different accounts and across many, many, many different hashtags. But people were using clips that were showing moments where JK and Jimin were thrusting at each other, or specifically moments where JK was thrusting near Jimin or with the air. The point of these clips is, of course, to sexualize the boys in some capacity. But also it is so attention grabbing and so like, wait, what's going on? What are they doing that we stop and stare? Because these are things that it's hard as humans to ignore when we see something that is sexual by nature, or sexual because we envision it to be, or it comes in that way in our heads. And of course, when it does, we are going to stop and stare and take a look and see what's going on. I understand why people would be upset about content like this because they don't want the boys to be seen in this way. And I would like to rebuttal and fight this a little bit because these are actions in which the boys did to themselves. These clips are now just being cut and maybe taken out of context a little bit, but the nature of some of these moves were to be a little sexual and the boys were fully aware of that when they did it. But also my point to this and why I think the clips are fine and it's good is because it keeps the boys more relevant, and that really technically can apply to anything that is being said about the boys online. The very cool thing about the BTS community that is different from a lot of other fandoms is that the community doesn't stop making content within the community. So there are new edits that are fan wars, there's always stuff to talk about and keep the boys top of mind. This keeps the conversation going, and I can't imagine that some of that attention wouldn't result in some streams or wouldn't result in more money for the boys, because oftentimes a lot of that creates videos where the boys will use BTS's music, and then when that song or music is being used, the label gets money from it. So the boys ultimately would get paid from that. I'm not saying necessarily this type of content is what I prefer to see on social media and that I would necessarily agree every time I see it, but it's not something that I have a big problem with, especially if it's things that the boys have put out themselves. If it's something else where it's like AI content, where it's without the boys' consent and they didn't want to do something like that, then I tend to disagree with what's being put out. When it's content that's cut from a performance and stuff like that, that the boys knew that by doing something like that, it would be screenshotted and thrown all over the internet, just the same way the boys are fully aware that if they take a photo with their shirts off, it's going to be all over the internet. That I don't feel the same type of anger or telling people to stop when I see stuff like that, because that is content that they had actively put out themselves, right? Let me know what you think. Make sure to check out Patreon for more videos. Link down below. Thanks for the comment right here. Love you. Bye.